This year alone, more than 32,000 people have fled from West Africa to the Canary Islands by boat, a record high. Hundreds have died in the process. Abdoulaye from Senegal also wants to risk the dangerous crossing.
If everything worked as it should, we wouldn't leave. If I could, I would rather earn a living in Senegal and be close to my mother. But I have to leave. I can't go on like this.
Abdoulaye has a plan. The young Senegalese wants to take a boat to Europe in the next few days. He lives in a suburb of Dakar, together with his mother and extended family. He dreams of a better life, of a job that pays enough to send money home to his loved ones. But not everyone here is convinced of his plan.
I want you to have a long life. The boat is not safe.
Let me go. I'll make it.
Please find a different way.
Okay, I'll try.
You really should.
Okay, but if one day I'm gone, then you'll know that I've taken a boat. And when I have money, you won't have to work so hard anymore. That's my biggest dream. I get so excited when I think about it. I want to use my life to make yours better. Every day, I see how hard life is for my mother. To provide food for the family, she has to sell something at the market. Or I get money from my work at the tailors. I can't live like this anymore. I want to take a boat to Europe.
His destination is Hierro, the smallest Canary Island. Located off the west coast of Africa, it forms part of Spain. He's not the only one with this destination. In recent months, migrants from West Africa have arrived on Hierro almost every day. They traveled for days in overcrowded boats without being able to move. Many come from Senegal, around 1,000 nautical miles away, which is over 1,800 kilometers. They receive medical treatment at the port and are then taken to reception centers. Modou had a similar plan. The young Senegalese man is a tailor. 3 years ago, he decided to take a boat to the Canary Islands. But after a few days at sea, they lost their course. No more food, no more water on board.
All I thought was, I'm going to die, either today or tomorrow. I knew how much danger we were in. You have to imagine the boat is huge. It rises, crashes down. Sometimes it almost breaks apart. People were crying. All I could think about was my mother, that I might never see her again.
After 7 days, they suddenly see the port of Gran Canaria. Modou can hardly believe that he's made it.
It was the middle of the night and we were all asleep. And suddenly, we saw the lights of the island. I shouted, "We're here!" Everyone was so happy. Even those who were ill felt overjoyed.
Juan Miguel Padron knows such stories well. The mayor of Hierro has seen more migrants arrive in the last few months than ever before. Since the beginning of the year, there have been around 7,000. The island itself has a population of around 11,000.
It has been completely overwhelming. We lack any sort of infrastructure to provide for the inhabitants of El Hierro, the tourists, and the migrants.
He knows that everyone who arrives here has risked their life. This year alone, hundreds could only be recovered dead by sea rescue organizations.
What drives them to cram themselves into a boat like that for 5 to 7 days, in terrible conditions, hardly anything to eat, the stifling heat and the cold?
The migrants are now set to be accommodated in this former monastery because there are no other places left on the island. Since last June, Tessa Padron and her husband Hierro have been volunteering to help them.
What else can I do? Should I make up the beds? Prepare the first aid kits?
Yes, let's see how many people arrive this time. We'll see where we can put the babies, women and children, depending on the number. Those who are injured should go on the ground floor, anyone else on the first. When they arrive here, they need water immediately, because literally every boat runs out of it at some point. We always have jugs of water ready. And then they need rest.
The two have shared many moments with the migrants. They've been helping day and night at the reception centres, but the situation has worsened.
There's so many migrants now. We can't look after all of them. A boat arrives, you try to provide them with water and take them to the showers. You haven't even finished when you hear a new boat has arrived. 280 people. So you have to reorganize again and see where you can find beds. It's really difficult.
What's more, many migrants are now arriving in poor health. Just a few days ago, one person died in Tessaida's care.
You blame yourself. Could I have done more? Should I have checked on them more often that night? Because the thing is, we meet them here, get to know them, and then it's so difficult.
Juan Miguel Padron is on his way to his next appointment. He's going to the cemetery. Today, another migrant who was found dead by sea rescue is being buried.
It's up and down. On the one hand, it feels good to give respect to these people and bury them in our midst, like everyone else in our community. But it's also tragic, as we don't know their names. Their gravestones remain nameless, and no one will be able to find their husband, child, or brother.
It is the 10th burial of a migrant in the small cemetery. The municipality bears the costs itself, around 1,500 euros.
For many, the migrants might just be numbers, but for me, it's a tragedy. We know how many arrive here, but we don't know how many others have tried.
Nobody knows how many die trying to cross the sea. Their bodies are often never found. However, there's a small victory today. For the first time, the migrant who's being buried could be identified. All the others remain nameless. Back in Senegal, we are in Abdoulaye's tailor workshop. He's had the job for years and now owns a small business. Initially, he had high hopes of expanding it to help his family, but that's more difficult than expected.
I'm good at tailoring, but I don't earn enough to invest. Most tailors aren't doing well these days, and we have such competition from the shopping center now. What's left is earning a bit of money by sewing and selling.
And selling only really works when there are festivities in Senegal and people want to wear nice clothes. The rest of the year he earns too little, he says. Then he and his apprentice have to get by somehow.
If everything worked as it should, we wouldn't leave. If I could, I would rather earn a living in Senegal and be close to my mother. But I have to leave. I can't go on like this.
Many people in Senegal are in a similar situation. They are suffering from the poor economic situation in the country. Especially since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, food and energy prices have risen. On top of this, there is now political unrest. At the beginning of June, youth gangs were battling with the police. Abdoulaye's working day is over for today. he's off to see his friends. They know that he wants to take a boat soon, and how dangerous that is.
In the last 2 days, 49 people have arrived in Spain, and there have been deaths on every boat. They were starving.
They were seasick.
They pack food and water for 6-7 days. But if the boat gets lost, they need 9 days. Then they die of thirst.
I would plan food and water not for 6 or 8 days, but rather for 12.
I thought nothing. Now you're saying supplies for 12 days?
Even if a marabout told me that billions were waiting for me there, I wouldn't risk the trip. Those who decide to take a boat do so because they no longer feel any hope here in Senegal.
There are young people who just hang around and do nothing, but there are also so many who really give it their all and try very hard. But the state doesn't help. It works against them.
Yes, that's the main reason young people take a boat to Spain. Even though there is of course responsibility on both sides, the state has failed to encourage and support young people here on their journey.
Abdoulaye's faith gives him hope that he will survive the crossing. But he's aware of just how dangerous it is. He knows people who have never returned. But he has sought help from a spiritual leader, a marabout.
I went to a marabout who made me this lucky charm, which I will carry with me during the journey. And he gave me this magical water. You touch it to make the path safer.
It's time to pack. Abdoulaye can't take much with him for the week at sea, just a small backpack with a few clothes.
If I manage to get to Europe, I will first help my family with money so that they always have enough to eat. Then the house can be renovated. When the house is finished, I will try to get a job that will earn me enough money to come back and invest and give back to my own country.
Before he set off, Modou had similar dreams, but the reality was radically different.
The refugees from other countries were here on the island for maybe a month or two, then they were allowed to travel on to the mainland. But we came from Senegal, and as there is no war there, they told us that we had to go back to our country.
Modou's asylum application was rejected because he's an economic migrant. He was set to be deported and ended up on the street. A friend let him move in with her. He tries to keep his head above water by working as a tailor, but to this day he still has no papers and remains in Spain illegally.
My family keeps asking me for money. You're in Europe now, they say. But what people in Africa imagine Europe to be has nothing to do with reality. If you live here and have papers, your life is good. But if not, you have nothing. And I left so much behind. I had a good job in Senegal, but I lost everything.
Modou misses his mother and brother. He wishes he had chosen a different route to come to Spain back then.
If you can come here by plane, legally, that's better. But if you take a boat, you're gambling with your life. Some arrive, but so many don't. I lost so many friends in the sea. I tried to warn them, but they wouldn't listen.
On the beach in Dakar, Abdoulaye is waiting for his boat to leave. But the weather suddenly changes. The trip is cancelled. The sea is too rough. But that doesn't stop Abdoulaye from sticking to his plan.
Yes, I'm aware of the danger, but life is expensive here, and if you risk nothing, you get nothing. Anything is possible at sea. If you're ready to leave, then the hurdles in your way don't matter, and you just pray for the sea to remain calm.
A new trip is already being planned. The boat should leave next summer at the latest. Abdoulaye firmly believes that he will arrive in Europe in good health to start a new life there.